So I hinted towards this in my first video about retro game collecting, but when I look back on more modern history, I've been noticing that the late '06, '07, early to mid '08 period is a very pivotal time. At first glance, I thought it was because of the political shift that was seen around that time period. Obama was a very populist candidate, for example, and he won very decisively. Then I thought it was due to an economic recession that caused a lot of career changes for many people and economic woes that are arguably still going on for many families and towns. While those reasons are significant, after some thinking, I don't think they are responsible for my claim of societal stagnation. I think to evaluate a situation like this, one should probably look at what people are doing during their day. Now, I know you're going to say something like, yeah, that's obvious, thanks. But I think this is something that people consider but might not properly evaluate, or at least not evaluate properly at times. First off, I want to name some major lifestyle changes that revolve around this time period. The most important one is probably the iPhone being released, or modern era smartphone culture beginning. A fairly recent commercial by Motorola specifically mentions 2007 in a way to trigger nostalgia to smartphone culture. I'll link that video to that commercial below, followed by explaining about how nothing has changed that much. Perhaps they are understating some of the changes that we have seen over the years with smartphones, but the general premise does seem correct here. Hell, the names of these phones alone somewhat tells this tale of stagnation. But the term smartphone wasn't first used in 2007. It was actually being used in the early, maybe in the mid to late 90s, and the IBM Simon is generally considered the first smartphone. With that said, if you were to ask people on a street, I'd be willing to bet that many would say the iPhone is the first smartphone, or at least the one that started the culture we see today. But it wasn't just the iPhone being released that changed the times. Many of the current most popular places on the internet saw their rise to fame during this time. People forget, but originally Facebook, which is arguably the flagship social media site, was limited to just college email addresses on sign-up. They then specifically opened to high schoolers, if I recall, and finally in 2007, Facebook opened its account creation to any valid email address. This was a massive change for many people, as now everyone was in the process of creating a personal brand, so to speak, networking for potential business transactions, allowing a person in, say, Maryland to discover a person in Oregon quite easily. There's still more though. YouTube, this very site, was purchased by Google in the fall of '06 and rapidly started changing. Yes, there have been site redesigns, and yes, people have come and gone. But YouTube started becoming a viable platform for more than just prank videos or things like Guitar Hero Perfect Runs that dominated the site originally. 2007 also saw Netflix begin their streaming platform, something that people use for hours upon hours of entertainment each day now, and Twitter started taking off with their semi-famous '07 South by Southwest conference. I could list a few more things, such as Reddit's increased popularity, Tumblr being founded around this time, but I think my point is being made. These are all websites that, when combined with being easily accessed in our pockets at any time, became the primary time sinks for millions of people in every country, with people spending hours upon hours a day using. Hell, even when people think they are doing something not related to the usage of social media sites, such as eating out at a restaurant, relaxing in the house, the phone is usually a supplemental part to these events. So how does this lead to my claim of societal stagnation? Well, there are a few parts to this. One, if people are bored and becoming very nihilistic, which I do think are feelings that are on the rise in society today, and people are doing the same things each day, then perhaps that's why you are bored. Time spent doing something generally defines us as people. As much as people say you are not your job, it's not exactly true. It's more of a feel-goodism. A more correct way to put it would be to say you are not just your job. People spend 40 or even more hours a week working, so yes, I do think it's a part of who you are. The same thing goes for free time consumption. If we are spending hours of each day doing the same things for over a decade at this point, then I think it will be the primary cause of unhappiness, at least eventually. What's even more telling of stagnation is the age of exploration on the internet seems to be over. I put some links in the description below, but some countries, see Facebook get more web traffic than the rest of the internet combined. This is not the case for more industrial nations like the United States where I'm located, But I will say that while I'm not sure how to properly research this, I would be willing to bet that maybe 6 websites off the top of my head: Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, Netflix, and I'll throw in Instagram, which is a little bit later than 06, 07. But those 6 websites, I'd be willing to argue, get more traffic and time consumption in the United States than the rest of the internet combined. Back in, say, 2002, I doubt if 6 websites dominated the internet like those 6 do today, for example. But perhaps the main reason why I think there has been some societal stagnation is the nature of the centralized internet. When this much of our personal lives are recorded and stored long term, we can constantly redo the same things almost in fear. One thing that people talk about with the internet is the term FOMO, or the fear of missing out. I do believe that the fear of missing out is a very big thing, and that it's a very telling thing of how our internet works today. But I actually think the term FOMO or FOMO, or however it's pronounced, could also stand for the fear of moving on. The Black Mirror episode Be Right Back with Haley Atwell kind of comes to mind here, how she couldn't get over the loss of her loved one. A little bit of a more extreme example, but it's kind of the point I think the episode was trying to make. I mean, how often do we rewatch episodes of, say, The Office, which is a show I do love, just because it's convenient, it's safe, and at this point, a habit? With all this said, are we still stuck in that 06, 07, 08 time period? Well, maybe not. If this era did end, the only time I could think of when the shift happened was probably 2015, 2016, and running into 2017, which now we could maybe argue that we're stuck in 2016, or revolving around that year. This new era seems to revolve around trying to nitpick others via these very platforms. It's almost as if there was a weird party that ended around 2016 and now the party has turned into an after-school fight. But a lot of this current climate still does revolve around trying to find dirt on really old social media posts, almost in a metagame, so to speak. Now, I'm not suggesting to never watch YouTube anymore or to stop supporting people who you've supported on Patreon in the past, but I do think being cognizant of what we are doing is ideal. I do know there is some irony with using YouTube to put thoughts out there that criticize YouTube in a sense. I also do realize that social media can be books, movies, etc. But when I use the term, I generally mean the Facebook, YouTube, Reddit type stuff, which is when that term started seeing heavy use. But it's just when we start watching the same YouTube videos over and over, it can't be healthy long term. If you do, stop Facebook stalking the ex-girlfriend or boyfriend who you dated in 2010. For example, the amount of people in 1997 who continued to keep tabs weekly or even daily on somebody they dated in 1990, a similar time frame, was small and generally considered extremely unhealthy. Listening to the same music playlist or artist can be a cause for unhappiness. Go explore, try new things, new music, new restaurants. The outside world still exists. I know some people have told me that the internet has priced them out of doing things in this, quote, outside world. So if that's the case, at least try to explore new avenues of the internet. I'll do a shameless plug to my own channel right now. But ideally, find the cheapest things possible with not using the internet if you are struggling financially. I understand that the economic woes are pretty bad right now, but I do think this is important for the mental health of people to go outside more. Anyway, to summarize this video, the 06, 07, 08 period saw the most powerful and perhaps popular invention ever, the internet, centralized to a handful of websites, perhaps due to smartphone technology having the internet in our pockets beginning around this time. Anonymity started to give way to personal branding, and while one could argue this has ushered in some good things, which I do agree that some good things have happened, I think this has also led to a large amount of societal stagnation in some regards, due to the convenience the internet has and the ease of falling into doing the same things over and over. When totaling the hours spent in these situations and the rise in unhappiness that seems to be seen lately from many people, I think we as a society could use less internet at times in our lives, or at least force ourselves to explore other areas of the internet to at least add to the repertoire of life experiences in that regard. If you'd like to talk to me about this video or anything in general, feel free to reach out to me on Twitch. I understand the irony of bringing up Twitch in this video, but I love talking to new people while losing at Dota and whatnot. Preferably though, I'd like for you to meet up with some friends locally, hang out and socialize, meet new people locally, and stop worrying about the internet and the culture around it. If this video is interesting enough to people, I might make some more parts to this video showing how the centralized internet era has stagnated areas specifically to entertainment or business or politics, but that, we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this more podcast format, but I hope you enjoyed it, and please take care.